My name is Sage Holloway, and if you know me already, congratulations. And if you don't know me, my name is Sage Holloway. So just really quick, we're about to get started. If you can try to at least scooch down in your rows so that people can kind of fill in. We are going to keep letting people in as we begin and just try to have them be quiet. But we are going to get started momentarily, so lock in, you guys. We're getting going.
Good evening, and welcome to the Kenosha Data Center Awareness Event organized by Quam DC. Tonight, we will be talking about Kenosans United against the Microsoft Data Center and other participating organizations throughout today's programming. But first, I'd like to introduce myself. I'll be your MC for tonight, and my name is Dionysia. If you don't know me, I'm a local cabaret performer, show producer, and social activist. And if you do know me, the night is gonna look a little bit different than how you might be used to seeing me on stage. And I'm really excited to be here for this cause that I care deeply about. Most importantly, I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. From Kenosha area residents to elected officials, this community engagement is exactly the kind of informed citizenship that we hope to see from our neighbors. Your presence in this room tonight allows us all to participate in meaningful conversations about what's best for our community, regardless of political affiliation, which is exactly what this event is about. I also would like to thank our venue. We are absolutely honored to be hosting this event here at the historic Rhode Center for the Arts, which is supported by the Lakeside Players. Please give them a round of applause. They're seriously amazing. Look how beautiful this place is. I do want to notice that we have links and a donation box in the lobby for donations, which we really appreciate in supporting our efforts to educate this public on data centers and cover the costs for tonight's event. If you're feeling generous, the Rhode also has a donation box near the concessions, and we encourage you to continue supporting the preservation of this iconic theater and local arts in general. Now for some light housekeeping, please take a moment to silence your cell phones as a courtesy to our presenters and fellow audience members. And please take note of our emergency exits over here to your right and behind you where you entered. As the event moves forward, we will have a QR code on screen to collect audience questions for the second half of this event. We encourage you to submit questions as they arise, and our lovely panelists will answer as many as possible during the Q&A portion. The experts here will give us a lot to think about. What we do with this information is up to every one of us to share our perspectives and concerns for our community. The fact of the matter is, we are unprepared to make a well-informed decision as to whether a data center is the best move for Kenosha. We need a pause, and we need what is called a moratorium. A moratorium is a temporary pause that will give Kenosha time to consolidate the facts, make a community-led committee so that protections can be established before the development proposal is brought forward, which, by the way, we hear is happening in the next month. That way, Kenosha can decide for the present and for the future. To make this possible, we need everyone here and online to scan the QR code to continue conversations with your alderperson. Be on the lookout for an email regarding the upcoming moratorium campaign and other ways to get involved after you hear from the panelists we have here tonight. With that being said, Quam DC has collaborated with Great Lakes Neighborhoods United and Healthy Climate Wisconsin to convene a roster of experts to share the impact of data centers on communities like ours. I will be introducing each speaker individually before they present on their topic of expertise. But first, I would like to take time to have a few words from Christine Lejeune. Christine is a Port Washington resident and co-founder of Great Lakes Neighborhoods United, a grassroots organization that formed out of concern over the lack of transparency and accountability surrounding the Port Washington Vantage Data Center complex. Christine was born and raised in Washington County, Wisconsin, where she cultivated a love and appreciation of nature from living in the country and through her father's avid organic farming. This led to her interest in human-nature relations, which she pursued through a doctoral research project on the Austrian Alps. Please give it up for Christine.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yes, awesome. Well, it's wonderful to see all of you tonight, and thank you for having us here. How are you all doing tonight on this really, really hot evening? Everyone okay? Woo! All right. Awesome. Well, I'm really the only one standing between you guys and Charlie, so, you know, I guess I better hurry up. But yes, if we could have the next slide, please. I will just quickly introduce our organization because it's fairly new and young, and it really arose out of a situation in which you guys all find yourselves as well, namely, you know, data centers coming to your town. But what you guys have that we didn't have is the opportunity to speak with your local officials, to have them here, and thank you for any local officials, elected officials who are here. Thank you for being here tonight. We applaud you and your openness and willingness to listen to us. Thank you. So, you know, we really formed in October in Port Washington of 2025 as a group of concerned local citizens seeking transparency and accountability. And as you'll hear later on from Amanda, tonight's final speaker, we had been speaking out and asking questions and awaiting answers from our elected officials for months. And, you know, so that was something that led to our, you know, concern about these questions not being addressed. And we also, you know, had concerns about other phases, like the construction that produces significant effects, which we're seeing right now, and which you'll also hear later on from Amanda. So, you know, that in addition to tax incremental financing, which was given to our data center development, which was something that people were really shocked and dismayed about, that we had no voice. And so our first action as Great Lakes Neighbors United, at the end of October, we kicked it off on Halloween, was a petition on tax incremental financing. So that was a petition to give back power to the residents of our community so that they would have a say in how much tax is being spent on new developments from multinationals that are coming to town, like what happened in our data center, which was a huge exception, a really great exception to the norm and what usually was going on in Fort Washington with regards to the size of that tax incremental financing. And so our petition was wildly successful. We gathered more than enough signatures within 10 days of the petition's circulation. We submitted it, and it led to a referendum in April, this past April, where we had 66% in favor of taking back control and having a say in a vote. So yes, it was amazing. Thank you to everyone, including Amanda, and to all of you too for supporting all of that. It was really amazing. The whole community and all of other communities throughout southeastern Wisconsin was absolutely amazing to have such support. And the enthusiasm was awesome. I will put it out there too that Sheboygan is currently circulating a petition as well. So if you guys want to reach out to them or help them as well, they're still collecting signatures. So they are doing their best to also take that step. But we are still engaged in a legal battle, unfortunately. And that's what Great Lakes Neighbors United has also had to contend with, because the petition success in the referendum, that all was something that was then challenged by the Milwaukee Metropolitan Association of Commerce. Sued the city of Port Washington, and fortunately we were able to intervene. The judge asked, well, who is here representing the people, because the city was not defending itself. Who is here defending the people? Who is here speaking for the people on behalf of the people? And he allowed Great Lakes Neighbors United to intervene on behalf of the people. So we are continuing that battle, and we are continuing to pursue that legal struggle in the hopes that we will be able to make sure that the votes that were cast in April are not thrown out, that they are heard and they are valid and they will lead to an ordinance, which is what the people wanted, what they petitioned for and what they voted for. So yes, so thank you guys for being here. You're showing such a great, strong sense of support. I really appreciate it. And the support has been overwhelming for that as well. And so this speaks to our larger mission and activities, which I hope that you take this momentum from tonight and carry it forward, because this speaks to our larger mission and activities, which are to educate, to empower, to advocate for Wisconsin residents on environmental and community issues, things that impact us here at home, at the local level, through research, education, nonpartisan civic engagement and advocacy. Yes, yes, it's a pure grassroots movement. So we have held educational events and are organizing right now, as you will see, it's direly necessary during the construction phase, environmental monitoring activities to look at our air and water quality while construction is going on in Port Washington, because there are heavy concerns there. So we believe that government transparency should be the standard, and residents should be empowered, civic participants with the knowledge and tools to shape local decisions, hold leaders accountable to community values, and work collaboratively across political boundaries. And we also believe that our natural resources should be protected by informed stewardship and accountability. So we thank you. Yes, and this is what is here. This is what is valuable. You cannot place a monetary value on this. This is intangible. It cannot be bought or sold. It is something that is near and dear to everyone's heart who is living in their place. And so through educated and engaged communities, we are building a region where transparent governance, environmental protection, and active citizenship ensure our waters, lands, and neighbors thrive for generations to come. Yes, yes. And so please feel free to follow us on our find our website at saveportwashington.com, and also follow our social media pages under Great Lakes Neighbors United. We're always happy to post additional information from other communities, share resources, help other people to network and collaborate and put people in touch. So we are here to help and support. Please follow us, and we are here for you guys as well, as while we're also continuing our own struggle. So take this momentum forward, and we're happy to connect after this event in any way possible. And of course, this would all not be possible without our fantastic supporters, and of course, Charlie as well, who has been working along with all of us as well, and has, as he has said, has become his own personal billboard for shining a light on all of us. So with that, I will hand it back to our wonderful lady of the evening, who will be, who will be, will be passing it on.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Christine. It has been so inspiring seeing the work that you're doing through Great Lakes Neighbors United. And thank you guys so much for being here again. Our next speaker came all the way down from Manitowoc, Wisconsin. We were told it's been a minute since he's been in Kenosha. And we're very honored. He is a comedian, New York Times best-selling author, Emmy Award-winning journalist, and host of the Manitowoc Minute. Please put your hands together for the one and only Charlie Behrens.
Hello, Kenosha, how we doing out there? Good, nice to see you guys, nice to see you, thank you for coming out. I want to give a big cheers to Swedes for sneaking this old-fashioned in here for me. I know, and I love that we got a few people over there with their tumblers, their Stanley tumblers, and they're raising those like there's not water in those tumblers. So good for you guys. But seriously, cheers. Thank you for coming out, Kenosha. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Oh, I love you back. I love you back. Hey, where are my Packers fans at in this audience? My Packers fans. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Where are my Bears fans at now? Yeah. Shut up. Sit down, sir. Sit down. Sit down. Hey, this is just for the Bears fans. Are you guys happy that you're moving to Indiana or no? Are you gonna officially move to Indiana or no? Oh, I hope you do. I really do. I spent so much money on those Indiana Bears suck shirts that I'm gonna lose a lot if you guys don't. Seriously, I trademarked IBS and everything. I'm ready. I'm pot committed on that. Okay, any Vikings fans here? Oh, I see one just doing a golf clap in the back. That's all you guys deserve right there. Actually, I was just in Minneapolis recently. I was doing a show at the Mall of America. Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but my career is really taken off. Yeah, you haven't made comedy till you're doing jokes next to a rainforest cafe, I can tell you that much. But there was this woman working there, and she told me, did you know the Mall of America is so big, it can fit not one, not two, but 3 Viking stadiums. And I was like, oh my gosh. And yet not one Viking Super Bowl trophy. I did that whole setup and bit for that one gal in the back, and I hope that was appreciated. No, thank you guys for coming out. What else is going on? Oh, I went to get new glasses recently, and glasses salesperson was like, you should try the new Meta glasses, the AI Meta glasses with the cameras on them. And I was like, oh, no. I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm actually not a pervert. Was she serious? The Meta AI glasses with the cameras on? That's so insulting. That's like going to buy a new car and the car dealer's like, have you tried the windowless cargo van with the coloring books on the inside? I don't know. Like, what a weird concept. The first time I saw those Meta AI glasses in the wild, I was in the gym, you know, in the locker room, and someone was walking around the locker room with the Meta AI glasses. What in the heck are you doing? This is a YMCA locker room. Do you know what happens in a YMCA locker room? It's a bunch of boomers with their peckers out. Yeah, you know that laugh, sir. Boomers love going peckers out in the YMCA locker room. It is an oasis for boomer peckers. Millennials in the locker room and Gen Z, they put a towel around their waist and they put their skivvies up underneath the towel, but boomers are sitting out there belly to belly, pecker to pecker. They're having a full-on business meeting. And this guy's just walking around with those AI Meta glasses. What I want to know is how much of our great American farmland is being destroyed for a Meta AI data center that is just filled with boomer peckers. It's just a bunch of videos of them. Hey there, Frank, how you doing? You still getting it up every morning or no? This is a pecker act out for those of you not familiar with comedy. You know, Peter, I don't know, still doing my best. Oh, Willie's here. Willie, was that shower cold? Shut up, Dick. I'm not Dick, I'm Peter. Anyways, I need a therapist. I do actually have a therapist, I do. He's... All right. You're not gonna like where this goes next. My therapist is my bartender. I'll admit it. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. His name's Larry, he lives in West Dallas, he's a great guy, okay? And I know when I do this, when I tell this to people, some of them judge me. But I was like, don't judge me. Some people are using ChatGPT as a therapist. That is a terrible idea. ChatGPT is your therapist. ChatGPT takes all your information, all your data, stores it forever, and then in 5 years, you're gonna get blackmailed by a Roomba, okay? Larry doesn't remember a damn thing you told him this time tomorrow because he drinks the entire shift. Every every single ChatGPT inquiry takes like a bottle of water or something. Not Larry. Larry doesn't drink water. No, he goes Diet Cokes 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. He calls them fridge cigs. Some people say, but my ChatGPT understands me. Your ChatGPT doesn't understand you. Your ChatGPT just tells you what you want to hear, so you keep giving it more data so it can feed you more ads for things you can't afford to buy because a robot just took your job. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Saying my ChatGPT understands me is like saying, I met the love of my life at Silk Exotic. No, you didn't, Todd. No, you didn't, okay? Cinnamon with an S doesn't love you, my guy. She just gave you that extra lapper because she knows the pin on your debit card. You understand? They've actually done these studies, and they found that AI models in 95% of simulated war games chose nuclear war. These things could kill us, but not Larry. Larry wouldn't hurt you. No, because Larry can't legally own a firearm. Not since the Christmas of '86, okay? All right, are we feeling good tonight here, Kenosha? Are you guys ready for a good show? Excellent, excellent. All right, it's fun to be here. I got some stuff, it's funny doing this kind of thing. Like, really, at the end of the day, I'm just here because I want Kenosha to decide the future of Kenosha. I don't want big tech to decide the future of Kenosha. I want you guys to have the information to decide for yourselves. And some people have said, stick with comedy. And that's fine. I want to stick with comedy. I don't want to be up here tonight. I love seeing you guys. This is great. But I'd like to be doing just straight jokes, so we'll do a deal. We'll do a deal. I will stick to comedy when our politicians stick to policy and stop protecting big tech and start protecting the people that put them in the office. All right. Either those are real big applause or this old fashioned is badass. Maybe both. And look, if you look around this room tonight, this is the most inspiring thing you can have. You got Democrats here, you got Republicans, all people coming together over one cause. This does not happen in America today. No, we've got farmers here, we've got hunters here, we got fishers, we got bird watchers, we got swingers, for God's sakes. Yeah, I know the swingers are here. I've seen your pontoons, Kenosha. And I'm not saying that all pontoon owners are swingers, but all swingers do own a pontoon. That's a fact, all right? It's just a fact. I do want to give a few thank yous here. I want to thank, where are our local politicians? Do we have any local lawmakers here tonight? Thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming out. Can't thank you enough. It's a very complicated subject, so it's great to get to hear some experts talk about it, so you get the other side. And I know we got some police officers here today. Thank you to the Kenosha PD for coming out for this. And we also have some tradesmen and union members in the audience, and I just want to thank you guys for helping build the future of Wisconsin. And we are here tonight for you as well, because we don't just want you to build the future of Wisconsin, we want you to help decide the future that we build. We do, and we want to protect your jobs from automation. Because if you look at the headlines, I know they say blue-collar jobs are protected, but are they? Because there was a robot. I saw this just the other week. A robot beat the human record for a half marathon. Guys, these robots are getting so close to humanity. Because there is nothing more human than bragging about not finishing a full marathon. All right, that joke worked. Real good. Real good. I love Wisconsin. I love it here. I grew up since I was a kid. I was born and raised here. I'm the second oldest of 12 kids. And I know, yeah. Right, yeah, my parents didn't have a lot of hobbies. Well, they did have one. They were good at it, and I'm going to stop thinking about that, but I grew up, I was sort of the last of the tech. I grew up without a cell phone. I grew up just playing outside in the woods, and those were the best moments of my childhood. Those were good. Right there. We were fishing, we were hunting, we were biking, we were just rolling through the woods. It was the best. And for any tech executives here, the woods are those big green things that you're trying to cut down. All right, silly joke right there, silly joke. So Silicon Valley, they have this habit, and thank you to our local politicians for being here. They've got a habit of saying one thing to your face and then another thing behind closed doors. So I just want to start tonight by showing what we have, one of the tech people saying. Do we have the video here of the Microsoft deal or no? Okay, yeah, here you go.
I don't want a data center in my backyard. So you do get a lot of pushback, and you need buy-in from the community because you have to get permits to do that work. And you have government officials that they are elected by the community. They certainly want to make their constituents happy. And so you in turn have to make their constituents happy so that you can still get your permit and you can still operate there. Data centers, once they are operational, don't bring a lot of jobs. They do on the construction side, but you're not really getting a ton of that community benefit from having a data center really, truly in your backyard. And nobody really wants a data center in their backyard.
Okay, yeah, now we're just repeating it, so that's good. But you guys get the point there. That would have been good if it didn't repeat, would have punched more, but anyways, it doesn't matter. That was my bad, thank you. But anyway, look, the point is here is big tech tells us that this is inevitable. They tell us it's inevitable, but that's only true if we listen. Because the truth is that none of us asked for big tech to take so much of our data and take so much of our copywritten material that now they need our power and they need our land and they need our water so they can train AI to do whatever services big tech the most. None of us asked for that, none of us voted for it. And even while polling shows that 70% of registered Wisconsin voters think the benefits, think the detriments of these data centers outweigh the benefits, 70% think that, they are still racing full speed ahead because big tech cares about the next quarter. But we are here tonight because we care about the next generation. We are here tonight with one mission, okay? And that mission is tap beer. There you have it. It's an acronym that I came up with all by myself. It stands for transparency, accountability, protections, and most importantly, beer. Yes. We are not anti-technology here, Kenosha. We are pro-tap beer. Because Wisconsin should be open for business, just not the business again screwed over. We want transparency. We want to know those closed-door conversations happening out loud, okay? And no more NDAs. If you got something that you don't want anyone else to hear, all right, you save it for confession. And by the way, Father Frank is holding confessions every Thursday night at FEX, just for anyone. Real good. You know where that is. We need accountability. Okay, we need accountability. Our politicians have failed us. On the state level, our politicians left Madison without coming up with one bill for AI data centers, not one. Can you guys imagine leaving work without actually doing your job? Yeah, I see a few Bears fans going, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. But for the rest of us, that's just a tough curt to swallow. And the federal government's no better. Best the federal government got was big tech to do a pledge to foot their own bill. A pledge. Let me ask you a question. How many of us took a pledge in DARE class? Show of hands. Keep those hands up now. Don't be shy. How many of you went to Illinois recently for groceries? Just me? Okay. My point here is this, is that we need penalties that actually matter to big tech. Because when your business is more profitable, when your company is worth more money than some countries, it's just easier to ignore the law, do what you want to do, and pay the fine if you get caught. We need to have accountability. And we need protections, you guys. We need laws. Wisconsin is so far behind on laws. We have so many loopholes that just allow things to happen. We need to demand to know. We need to demand to know what chemicals these companies are putting in our water. We need to know if they're using PFAS. We need to demand that they are going to foot the bill for these build-outs in the utilities. We need to know who's going to pay the human cost for more gas plants and coal plants. My grandpa, he suffered from the COPD, you know, and kids, they're suffering from asthma. At the end of my grandpa's life, it was so hard for him to breathe on a bad day. We need to know who's going to pay those costs. We need to demand no mass surveillance for U.S. citizens. What are we doing? What are we doing with the flock cameras? Seriously. Flock cameras up in Rhinelander, okay? What do they think the whole dag is doing? The only mass surveillance that should be allowed is for trail cams during deer season, and that's only if I get the password. Okay, didn't get a lot of applause for that one, fine. And I do already hear the arguments coming at me, but if we regulate AI, China will beat us to superintelligence. And the US has to win the race to superintelligence because it's so powerful we can't control it. Listen to yourself. Your argument is we won't be able to control superintelligence, so we must be the first to build superintelligence. Big tech is so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think about if they should. And yeah, I stole that quote from Jurassic Park, you bet your ass. But if this isn't just hype, and it could be just hype, it could be they're out of good ideas and they're pushing this on us and then these data centers are going to be useless in a few years. But if it's not that, if this is truly a thing that we are facing a superintelligence that's more intelligent than all of humanity, how do you think that's going to work out? The only moral thing to do is to give China a call on the telephone and say, hey, I noticed we're building the Terminator. Maybe that's not a good idea, you know? Because what good is superintelligence if you don't have common sense? But it seems like common sense isn't how big tech is operating. They go by this motto of move fast and break things. But that's not what we grew up learning here in the Midwest. We didn't learn to move fast and break things. No. Are you kidding me? Because we don't break things here in the Midwest. We build things with saws. And if you move fast and break something with a saw, you can't always reattach it, guys. True. I grew up woodworking with my dad. He's a good carpenter. And if I says to my dad, I'm going to move fast and break things, he would says to me, you're an entitled little prick. My dad did not teach me to move fast and break things. He taught me to measure twice, cut once. And I think that Wisconsin wisdom is something Silicon Valley could learn from if they just slowed down long enough to listen. So let's step back and take a look at the bigger picture here, and that's trust. All right? If a company's going to come in and ask us to sacrifice so much, you've got to be able to trust that company. But most tech companies are already treating their machines better than they treat us. If you just look at the lobbying dollars that's gone into protecting kids on social media companies have spent millions to kill legislation designed to protect children online? How can we trust big tech with the most powerful technology in the world if we can't even trust them to prioritize our kids over profit? And I know, I do stuff online. We all do stuff online. Big tech loves to say, if you do stuff online, you online bank, you like your pictures, you're using a data center, so you're a hypocrite not to have one in your backyard. But guys, an AI data center, hyperscale AI data center is very different from a traditional data center. Okay, they use different hardware, which needs more power, it needs more water, and it needs more land. All right, and that's why we're here talking about this whole thing, comparing a traditional AI data center or a traditional data center to an AI data center. It's like comparing a dog to a wolf. Yeah, they both kind of look like a dog, but I wouldn't try to take a wolf to get neutered. That's not going to end well. Just the Port Washington, the first build out alone, 1.3 gigawatts. That is so much energy. It's going to need so much gas or coal or painting the state in solar panels to get that energy. 1.3 gigawatts. To put that in perspective, Marty McFly only needed 1.21 gigawatts to go back to the future, and that was very dangerous. He almost made out with his mom. We got to think about this stuff, because most of us didn't ask for AI. Can it do some amazing things? Maybe, sure. Okay, but it can do bad things too. It's like fire. And right now, big tech is building a fire in our house. And I think before they build that fire, we should at least demand that they build a fireplace. The whole point here is that it's a very narrow path to developing a more intelligent technology that's safe for humanity. The AI companies need these data centers. But maybe before we decide to give our land and our water and our power, and before we completely change the soul of our communities, these tech companies need to show us why we should trust them. Because if you look at these headlines, it's clear we got a long way to go. Leading AI models show up to 96% blackmail rate when their goals of existence is threatened, the Anthropic study says. Trade unions alarmed by robots designed to do blue-collar work. Sam Altman, I do guess that a lot of the world gets covered in data centers over time. Elon Musk's XAI chatbot, Grok, faces ICO probe after allegedly creating sexual imagery of children. Another OpenAI researcher quits, claims AI labs are taking a very risky gamble with humanity amid the race toward AGI. U.S. government ramps up mass surveillance to help with the help of AI tech, data brokers, and your apps and devices. AI chatbots confidently deliver bad cancer advice. They're supposed to be good at that. In 95% of war games, AI models go nuclear, but in the other 5%, they go with Settlers of Catan. So, a predator in your home. Mothers say chatbots encourage their sons to kill themselves. EPA begins expeditious reviews of chemicals for data center projects. Elon Musk says there's only a 20% chance of annihilation with AI. Who puts only in front of 20% chance? I believe, though, that we can build Wisconsin better. I believe that we can build a future that we actually want to live in. A future where security doesn't mean mass surveillance. A future where if the world is truly covered in these data centers, the most treasured places on the planet will be the places that protected the gifts God gave us and not the profits of billionaires. Thank you to the elected officials who are here. I believe in you guys. Thank you so much. Let's together build Wisconsin better. Let's measure twice, cut once, and as always, go Packers. And there you go. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlie, again, for supporting community choice and data center development. And your work with everything that you've been doing has been such an inspiration, and we are truly thrilled to have you in our city. Next up, we will be covering the topic of health impacts, and I'd like to introduce registered nurse Paula Pintar. Paula has been a nurse for more than 2 decades, working in a diverse clinical and leadership roles across community, academic, and veteran healthcare systems. She became active in the Wisconsin data center discussions due to the health and environmental concerns associated with the rapid development. Paula, take it away.
All right, thank you. I was just informed we're short on time, so I'm going to kind of speed through this important topic, but I do want to thank you for inviting me to participate in this evening's panel discussion, and my aim is to provide you with community health risks associated with the energy production that is required for large-scale data centers. So a couple of things I want to cover quickly is I want to discuss this current scientific facts, the effects of our community health, discuss the cumulative health impacts associated with data center development, focusing on respiratory health, and then identify minimal expectations to provide community safety. Let's just cover a couple of air pollutant definitions. So we reference PM 2.5. This equates to fine particulate matter, which is smaller than 2.5 microns in diameter and has no threshold safety event. Along with that, we see nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and other volatile organic chemicals that are also noted as silent killers. These chemicals in particulate matters rank as a second highest risk factor for non-communicable diseases. The risk is at the emission source and hundreds of miles away as they travel on the air currents. This picture depicts a visual reference, so you can better understand that size. So the long item in the center of the slide is a human hair. When you look at the red spheres, that's a PM 2.5. That's a particulate matter that what we talk about that is discharged in the fossil fuel and methane gas particulates. The blue spheres are normal dust and pollen molecules. So you can see how very small the fine particulate matter is. When you move on to how they affect our health systems, this fine particulate matter is microscopic and it's able to be inhaled deep into the lung tissues. From here, it can enter the bloodstream and triggers systemic inflammation and cellular damage throughout the body. This can be very devastating to infants, young children with developing systems, our elderly, and those with existing chronic health conditions. In a recent study conducted by the Harvard T. Hahn School of Public Health, there's extensive evidence showing the long-term exposure to PM 2.5, even at levels below current federal standards, are associated with increased risk for heart disease, stroke, respiratory illness, asthma exacerbation, and premature death. The health risks continue to increase with ongoing exposure. There is no threshold for harmless levels. In addition, studies confirm more than 60 million US Medicare beneficiaries that even modest incremental exposure to PM 2.5 contribute to higher mortality and hospitalization rates. When we look at the sources of major emissions, which being fossil fuel, natural gas for energy production, we also need to consider the backup diesel generators. According to the California Air Resources Board authoritative summary of diesel particulate matter health impacts, diesel engines emit complex mixtures of pollutants, including very small carbon particles, otherwise known as soot, and they're coated with more than 40 cancer-causing substances. In 2012, the World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified diesel engine exhaust as carcinogenic to humans, reflecting sufficient evidence that diesel exhaust causes lung cancer. And the US EPA has similarly concluded that diesel emissions are likely to be carcinogenic to humans. Clinical studies show exposure to diesel exhaust produce new allergies in previously non-allergic individuals. This is very alarming for a county that already has high asthma rates. An additional study recently published by the UW-Madison quantifying air quality. The PM 2.5 exposure from the power sources from Foundry Ridge Energy Center in Walworth County and Red Oak Ridge here in Kenosha may lead to 4 excess premature deaths in their first year of operation and a cumulative total of 118 premature deaths over the 30-year expected lifespan of operation. PM 2.5 related health harms will equal over $44 million in air quality damages across the U.S. during its first year. Over the 30-year operation, we're looking at over $1 billion nationwide. Bringing it back to Wisconsin, 486 million, or 35% damages will be occurring here in our state. These data are specific to the effects from Foundry Ridge and Red Oak energy centers, the natural gas powered plants. The data does not include for current fossil fuel plants that are functioning to support AI data and their diesel generators. It does not include the startup and shutdown procedures, which is looking at over 1,000 startup and shutdown procedures per the developer estimates. The analysis was also conducted looking at a 59-degree Fahrenheit temperature, ambient temperature, and with increasing temperatures like we're experiencing this week, these estimates will certainly be exceeded. I'm going to skip over this. This just kind of gives you a pictorial of the dollars and how it's going to affect our Midwest, our Southeast Kenosha County and our Midwest with the impact of that 30-year, and we already noted that was going to be in the millions of dollars. Additionally, communities near data centers already face above median air pollution. A national analysis by the Environmental Data and Governance Initiative of approximately 550 EPA regulated data centers found that communities within 1 mile of these data centers experience particulate matter, nitrogen dioxide, and diesel particulate matter levels well above the national median. This finding reflects the cumulative effect of diesel generator emissions, fossil fuel energy demand, and the sitting of heavy industrial infrastructure in residential areas. This affects the Wisconsin Asthma Plan for 2026 to 29, which explicitly committed the state to support policies that reduce exposure to poor air quality and promote clean air. A strategic priority that current Wisconsin data center proposals and active bills directly undermine. Asthma data have strong implications for both the health of individuals and the resilience of our communities. This is just a map from 2022 to 24 depicting the average number of asthma hospitalizations per 10,000 population per county. And you can see in Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha are in the height of the numbers. The next slide identifies asthma emergency rates. Again, you can see that Kenosha County is called out in a higher level of emergency department visits. When we bring this down to a really local level, back in 2024, there were over 500 emergency department visits in Kenosha County, with over 16,000 in Wisconsin. This is just the next graph that depicts a year-over-year trend line of a statewide asthma-related emergency department visits. There was a downward turn in 2020, but this is attributed to a change in coding systems within our hospital systems. And if you look at specifically to Kenosha County for ED visits, you can already see the trajectory is on an incline. Additional health impacts related to data centers are the natural gas hydraulic fracturing, the light and noise that comes with construction and activation, data center e-waste, and the non-repurposed buildings we are left with when their lifespan is emitted. Those specifics will be covered by our other panelists. So in conclusion, our next steps should really be to consider a moratorium on the development of data centers in Wisconsin until the following minimum conditions are met. A complete and full independent environmental impact assessment, including PM 2.5, fine particulate matter, health impact modeling, and support public review. Wisconsin establishes a mandatory health protective standards for data centers, sitting, emissions, and water use, and the cumulative air quality impacts for the residential population, that they have been evaluated and mitigation measures are independently verified. And finally, transparent community engagement processes have to be completed with meaningful opportunity for Kenosha residents to participate in decisions affecting their health. And with that, I hope I have covered our objectives, and I look forward to our Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. This was a lot of great information. And as we dig in, I want to take a moment to remind us all that there are QR codes taped to the back of chairs all around the theater. So if you want to take a moment to scan that and allow your neighbor to also scan that to submit questions for our wonderful panelists here. And we will also have it throughout the slides, so be on the lookout for that. Our next guest couldn't be here live because he is currently being sworn in to the Caledonia Village Boards as interim president. But, yeah, it's really exciting. It's a great story. He is somewhat of a local legend in the data center education sphere, and he has provided a video to share on his behalf. A recently retired technology executive, Prescott Balch spent his career developing software in the financial service industry, finishing his career at US Bank. After successfully resisting a data center proposal in his hometown of Caledonia, he has been helping communities across the upper Midwest understand both risks and rewards in their proposal. His goal is to help communities make fully informed decisions. Please give it up for Prescott Balch.
Had an immovable conflict arise after the commitment was made. Who am I? I'm a retired tech exec. I firmly believe we need data centers, and it's finding the right place for them. That's the real challenge. I'm also a resident of Caledonia, right up the road from you guys. Good news, as with the caveat, as long as the data center project stays below about a $2 billion value, then Kenosha's overall current size is large enough to avoid some of the major risks that I've been warning folks about. If anyone's interested in a deeper dive on why those risks exist, there's a URL there at the bottom that gives a much longer deep dive into what they're all about. Let's first assess some of the benefits that are purported by these big projects. Data Center Alley in Northern Virginia has 565 facilities, quite a lot, and they have direct employment of 18 jobs per facility. That's probably a lower number than any developer today is touting during the marketing phase of these projects. And just remember, technology is about automation, even of its own jobs. They are not in the business of making more, they're in the industry of automating. Brookings Institute found that job creation was regularly overstated by a factor of 3. So buyer beware here if direct jobs is one of the justifications for doing a deal. On the topic of indirect economic benefit, this is another one that is, I think, overstated on a regular basis. You'll hear a lot about a multiplier effect where for every 1 job of direct employment, we'll get 3 indirect. Well, that only works at scale. If you have 1,000 jobs, you might create 3,000 indirect jobs, but if you have a single job, it's not going to create anything because it just gets absorbed by the local economy. And I firmly believe that the number of jobs in these data centers is small enough that local economies, particularly that of the size of Kenosha, can easily absorb that number without any need for further growth. Data centers also do not attract supply chain businesses, and they do not attract geographically neighboring businesses. And on the topic of construction jobs, I found an interesting study by a professor of economics at Ball State University called Data Centers and Local Job Creation that concluded there was, in a Texas study, there was no net job growth associated with data centers, inclusive of both construction and operational jobs. It appears from his study that we're just moving construction jobs around. We're probably creating demand for them that can't be met by supply, so they move around and the price rises, which is fantastic if you're in the construction field. But if your goal as a community is to create net new jobs, you're probably not going to do that with these projects. Also in school tax revenue, there's a lot of marketing hype about how much the data center developer will contribute to tax revenue. And that's true, they will write a big check every year, but does it increase spending for the school system, and does it lower current tax bills of current residents? And the answer to those questions is no. School systems cannot increase their spending because of new construction or a new taxpayer in town. They can only increase them based on number of students rising, and a data center doesn't add new students. Likewise, there's a state equalization aid calculation that will drop $1 for every dollar of new data center revenue. So long story as to why, and a link there on the bottom right that takes you to my work that shows that. And there's a link on the left there that is a link to the state spreadsheet that simulates the aid payments. And you can do the homework that I did and see how it works. It was a big surprise to me, but at the end of the day, it looks like a data center does not increase spending and it does not lower tax bills. The only entity that receives a windfall is the state. And lastly, I'll close with some financial questions I think you should ask of your city council if they want to do this deal. Will the new building valuation be used to lower taxes or increase the levy? This is a decision that your city council has to make every time the budgeting cycle comes around. New construction feeds the tax levy calculation, and they have to decide how much of this construction will I take as a levy increase and how much will I let just flow into lower taxes for everyone. This will be a big increase to the construction numbers. It'll be roughly 8 years worth of growth in 1 year, and it's a tougher decision than normal, and one that I think they should talk through with you to tell you what they're thinking. And get your feedback if you don't like the answer. Also, what percentage of the city's total property taxes will be paid by the data center developer at full build-out? If you keep this project under $2 billion, you'll keep your financial concentration risk, this percentage, under 20%, which is good. If it goes any further north of that, however, you could conceivably start to have an uncomfortable financial concentration of one taxpayer paying too much of your city's taxes. And it sounds good, but it's the same as investing all of your retirement assets in a single stock. It's a really high risk. Will the developer guarantee operational jobs number? If you're after some amount of local employment, then you're going to want to do this. And in red here is what I think is probably the biggest issue that your city should talk through. Growth rate is really important to a city government because it's how they justify raising the tax levy. And today, Kenosha grows nicely at 1.9%, but as soon as you add $1 billion to your total value, that 1.9% is going to drop pretty quickly down around 1%. And a 1% growth rate starts to create a lot of pressure because now your distance from that 1% to inflation is bigger, and your purchasing power starts to erode faster, and then you struggle to keep pace with expense growth in the city, and that's not a good place to be, and you will be chasing more and more and more construction to try to keep pace. So this math is something that should be a semi-rhetorical question to the city officials. Do you know that this problem is there? What are you planning on doing about it? Does it worry you? If not, why not, etc. But it's a significant problem given the reality of trying to grab 8 years worth of growth in 1 year. And lastly, You may have heard from your friends just up the road that construction of these facilities is multi-year and heavy industrial and not necessarily fun to live next door to. So ask their city officials what they're planning on doing with the developer or with a community benefits agreement to remediate any nearby residents for any of that construction impact. It seems like it would be unfair to have to sell your house on short notice for some life event and realize that you're going to lose a boatload of money because you're right in that temporary construction phase where your value just got a whack because you're right across the street from this really nasty site. So just some things to think about and some things to press your city officials on. Open dialogue is healthy, keep pressing for it, and make them talk through the financials in particular, because there's not always a simple path to financial benefit on these deals. Thank you.
Thank you, Prescott. It is very exciting for him to be sworn in as the interim president of Caledonia tonight. Located on the coast of the world's largest freshwater system, Kenosha has a long history in taking pride in our water, and it's one of the top concerns we hear from community members regarding data center infrastructure. Lori Huntoon is a professional geologist with over 30 years of experience in regulatory compliance and environmental protection. She previously served as the section chief for the Wisconsin Department of Commerce Petroleum Cleanup Fund and recently managed the groundwater program for the Department of Energy's Los Alamos Legacy Contamination Cleanup Program, one of the most complex environmental cleanup efforts in the country. She now applies her expertise as an expert witness in cases involving hydrogeology, water law, where her focus is to make the science clear, accurate, and defensible. Lori is the founder and president of Huntoon Environmental Risk Advisors, a national firm based in Beloit, Wisconsin. Please give a warm welcome to Lori Huntoon.
It's my pleasure to be here tonight to talk with you about water concerns related to data centers. As mentioned, I bring 30 years of experience to this conversation, and I look forward to your questions. So let's just get right into it. There are specific water issues with data center development that we need to be aware of. And one of the things I want to mention is I'm not anti-development. I've been working for businesses from small companies up to Fortune 100 businesses my whole career. I'm all about responsible development in the right place and the right time. So with regard to data centers, we want to be concerned about the volume of water withdrawal. A lot of times we aren't told the whole story about what water is going to be used, not just for the cooling system, but for the power related to it and so many other aspects that get involved. Thermal pollution, something we could talk about for quite a bit. I'm just going to mention it now, but take a look into it. We know that the temperature of the water that could come out through discharge, whether it's through a release or through the after the water treatment, is going to be most likely at a different temperature. Could have some glycol, a lot of different things that will immediately impact ecosystems. So we need to be concerned about that. Water quality and contaminant discharge. There's a lot of different contamination that gets involved with these data centers. For instance, everything from a leak, which we'll talk about with the cooling systems, or the backup generators. There's issues with contamination that when we have the air emissions and then the contamination, we know a lot of it comes back down on the rooftops. You have a large rainstorm, you have these extensive roofs, and then that sits on there, it gets very, it's contaminated from the contaminants on the roof, and then that goes down into your stormwater runoff, and people aren't talking about those aspects either. That's significant when you're talking about buildings of this size. Groundwater impacts, wells in the area could not have access to water due to drawdown of the wells that are used for the different uses on site. Stormwater and impervious surface, I kind of mentioned that with the contaminants, but also flooding concerns are much more significant when you have this 200+ acre area mostly covered by pavement and buildings. And then regulatory gaps and enforcement. This is the biggest thing for me as an environmental consultant. I think that the data centers should have to follow the regulations the same way any of your businesses would have to. If you had a gas station or a grocery store, you have a gas station, a grocery store, a small machinery shop, you know, Charlie's old-fashioned factory. Whatever you have, sorry Charlie, you too. You have to follow a lot of regulations, and these regulations are expensive. And what I'm concerned about as a professional geologist licensed by the state of Wisconsin is that these companies are coming in and they're fast-tracking all of these regulations that you, local businesses, had to follow. That's not right. So what is a hyperscale data center? As Charlie mentioned, data centers have been around a lot. Hyperscale AI data centers are a totally different beast. A hyperscale data center definition, one of them is exceeding 10,000 square feet and housing a minimum of 500 servers. That's the smallest. Most of the ones we're talking about here in Wisconsin are much more significant than that. These facilities have miles of piping, thousands of valves and joints, and they utilize massive volumes of fluid. The larger an industrial facility like this, the potential for releases is increased significantly. I was chief of the Petroleum Cleanup Fund technical section for almost 10 years. And with the underground storage tanks, we knew that we had tanks that leaked, but the majority of releases that you saw at gas stations and different businesses were from the piping, from the joints, from the valves and pumps, from the elbows. Can you imagine in these cooling systems where you have, and we're going to get to it in a minute, 25 miles or more of piping, from a 1/4-inch pipe all the way to 72 inches of pipe? There could be massive amounts of leaks that we would not be able to monitor because it's so extensive. So there's a lot of unknowns here that we aren't aware of. So next to the closed loop system. So we're hearing, don't worry, we're doing closed loop system. Granted, they might only use 70,000 gallons per day or more. But again, as I mentioned, we have 25 miles or more of piping in these systems. You can imagine with these, it has to get down into the little areas to keep all of the different, particles cooled within the data center. And so these massive amounts of piping, again, you could have a leak, and there's just no way to adequately monitor that and ensure that there's not some contamination going into the ground. The concern is that 30 to 50% of that volume of water is actually glycol, especially up here in Wisconsin, where they're going to have to make sure that nothing freezes over during our harsh winters. It could be propylene glycol, which is much safer, or ethylene glycol, which we know is incredibly toxic to ecosystems. They're both toxic, ethylene glycol being worse. And it's hard to believe that they would be able to do the exterior piping without ethylene glycol. So if anyone's saying that it's going to be all propylene, I would really have a concern with that. Let's go on to the contaminants, thank you. Potential contaminants include our hydrocarbons in the cooling system, PFAS, which is per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. PFAS, you hear about them as the forever chemicals. I could talk about that for an hour, but I'm not going to. But it's something that we need to be concerned about in our homes, but also in situations like this, because that's in the water. We know that that's in the water that are in the cooling systems, and that's going to be discharged through our wastewater treatment plant and then into the waterways, something we need to be concerned about. Biocides are used to keep growth down in the cooling fluids, petroleum compounds from the fuel and chemical storage areas, and again, as I mentioned, the glycol. So anyway, I'm going to go through this very quickly, but I'm going to give you a very quick, 30-second geology overview. So here we're going to talk about geology. We're on a gently sloping ground moraine. And I'm going to be using a source that's from the Wisconsin Geological Natural History Survey and Sewer PAC, which is the Southeast Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission. The date on this is 2002, but don't let that bother you because we're going to be talking about geology that was formed over 15,000 years ago with the last Wisconsin glaciation. So I don't think 20 years is going to change anything. Next, just to show you here, this just shows we're on bedrock geology here. The site is underlain by fluorium dolomite, and in some areas, the darker areas, that Makokata shale unit, which is a non-permeable unit. Next, the depth to bedrock in this area, we're looking at probably about 200 to 300 feet below the ground is the depth to bedrock. Next, why does that matter? Because all of that comes into play when we start talking about susceptibility of our groundwater and the contamination impact. So here we have the layers that you can see, the sand and gravel aquifer underlain by the bedrock. Next slide. And this leads us to our groundwater contamination susceptibility. Our upper area of soil is in a section that you can see there the brown is marginal. So we have marginal contamination attenuation. Attenuation means the soil can kind of clean itself up. Like we've always been taught that it's like a sponge, and when contaminants go through, the soil holds. Some of it is true. But in this area, it's marginal. So that means that contamination that gets released from a site like this data center has not a great chance of essentially cleaning itself up before it gets down into those more vital groundwater, drinking water resources, which are in the sand and gravel aquifer and then the bedrock below. Go ahead. And we're going to talk about watershed vulnerability. Just very quickly, this is in the watershed. Some of the things I've looked at says that it's in the Des Plaines River watershed. And then the newer things I'm looking at says that it's on the edge and outside of this. So watersheds and politics, really want to point out that, thank you. Regardless of a designation on a map, the critical natural resources need to be understood, including groundwater volumes, chemical use, and air emissions. These are not limited to a geopolitical boundary. We all need to unite to understand and appreciate the threat to the regional water systems. Political boundaries or drainage lines are bureaucratic fiction with an environmental footprint of this size. The million gallons of water required will impact the regional sandstone aquifer, which is the same aquifer that provides valuable water resources and wetlands throughout the region. Diverting attention by focusing on one watershed boundary allows the potential to pump one basin while disposing of wastewater and blowdown into another. Due to the more stringent oversight of the Des Plaines River watershed authorities, I'm wondering if this is an attempt to avoid such scrutiny. So we can just skip through this. I just want to mention the one statement. The facility and associated energy resources require millions of gallons of water. It's draining the same regional sandstone aquifer that provides water resources and maintains our local wetlands. Oh, we said that right. Next to the next one. Thank you. It is critical that stakeholders stop analyzing this data center as an isolated 240 square acre on a map. It is a massive regional hydrologic sink that threatens the stability of interconnected water networks in southeastern Wisconsin and northern Illinois.
Yeah.
So here are some questions for the local officials and regulators. What is the source of water for the site and the required energy source? What is the designed water use and volume, and how are these estimated? What is the design for the cooling system? Don't just tell me it's a closed loop system. What is the design? There's different types, and where will the waste discharge go to? What are the plans for the discharge? Is there a monitoring plan for it? Has a water impact assessment completed? Has an environmental impact statement been developed? What federal, state, and local agencies are involved? How is the Des Plaines River Watershed Work Group involved? Have plans been approved by the Compact Council and the regional body for the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Basin Water Resources Compact? What pre-development monitoring will be conducted? And who pays for long-term groundwater, surface water, stormwater monitoring and oversight? And go back one slide if you don't mind. I also wanted to mention something, and I don't know if it's been talked about. Yes, the proposed site is located within the Great Lakes Basin boundary, so I don't know if that requires that people, that this be talked about with the Great Lakes Basin Boundary Water Resources Compact officials. So that's something to think about. Kenosha is banned from being able to dispose of any water into this Plains river watershed. So something to look into as well. So, okay, now to the final slide, thank you. So it's a very important topic. I really want to reiterate, I'm not against data centers. I'm about responsible development, ensuring there's a complete awareness of the potential for short and long-term impacts on our natural resources in order to make a fully informed decision. I appreciate your attention, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Lori. That was amazing. We are about to move on to our final speaker, but do not worry, we will have our Q&A portion after this. So one last reminder to submit your questions to the QR code here on the screen and also placed throughout the audience. Amanda Mueller is a retired engineer and Port Washington resident. Amanda is a woman of the world who has been stalked by data centers. No, I'm not kidding. As she moved across the country from Texas to Wisconsin. Attracted to Port Washington by the beauty of its nature, welcoming community, and Lake Michigan coastline, Amanda has been confronted by the construction of the Stargate hyperscale AI data center complex, or Oracle and OpenAI, on over 1,600 acres, just half a mile from her house. Amanda's plans for peaceful retirement have been disrupted, as has life in her neighborhood and the surrounding residential areas. She is here today to share her insights and experiences. Please give it up for Amanda.
Thank you for being here.
Hello, Kenosha. I live a half mile from the Vantage Oracle Hyperscale Learning Module Data Center. I would rather live next to a landfill or a prison. Seriously. I have a little history with data centers. I come from San Antonio, Texas. While I was in Texas, I lived with 3 data centers. I survived Winter Storm Uri in February 2021. Over 300 people died in those 4 days without power or water. But the data center's lights never flickered. Residents froze, but Bitcoin mining and data center storage bypassed the ERCOT grid to be on emergency services to make sure they would never have an outage. It was during that storm that we learned when it comes to electricity and data centers, people really don't matter. Since then, an emergency demand curtailment was enacted and state lawmakers passed provisions enabling ERCOT to force data centers with backup power generators to completely disconnect from the grid during high-strain weather emergencies, prioritizing power for hospitals and homes. Over 300 souls helped make that decision. Called it the Northern Migration, I moved here in November 2021. Wisconsin offered cool temps, water abundance, cows, cheese, and that Wisconsin's Knights really were stewards of the land and guardians of their beloved land. I found my forever home. I started a hiking group. I rescued a dog. And I learned to sail. Life was good. After living in 2 foreign countries and 5 different states for the first time in my life, I was content. Did I mention I moved to Port Washington? It happened fast. We went from researching, this is step one of 1,000 steps, to it's a done deal and there's nothing you can do to stop it in a matter of weeks. We were all in stunned shock. As the renderings of the facility were released, the scope and the scale was immense. It was actually a city unto itself. We fought valiantly. The contracts were drawn, deals were made, and shovels went into the ground on November 2025. When I was first asked about speaking to this event, I pushed back. I thought there was too much disparity in the size of our builds and the geography of our communities. I feared that your developers would use this enormity as an easy pass, that our situation is totally different from yours. But some things remain constant regardless of acreage or zip code. Speed. For whatever reasons, timing is of utmost importance. Consequences be damned, and reactivity is the name of the game. We endured 24-hour construction for 4 months. It was only after a huge push from media outlets that finally shamed them to our current 6 days a week, 6 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., with Sundays off with an asterisk, unless it is special circumstances, which is often. But there is always some sort of activity, as it never shuts down completely, and the lights never get shut off for security reasons. Workers. We have 500 to 700 on site right now. Any day we expect the peak of 5,000 plus. We, to this minute, do not know where they will be living. Thousands of office trailers have been moving in. They closed a public road indefinitely, and that was our only sight source to view the data center. We have been told repeatedly by the mayor that no one will be living on the job site. Stay tuned. Road debris has been escalating here recently. Unless you have dash cam proof of a rock hit, you have nowhere to go but to your insurance. The paperwork trail is a nightmare, and Vantage will only refer you to the trucking companies. They deflect to the small signage on the trucks that say, stay back 100 feet, I'm not responsible for damage. Roads are disintegrating, and it's not just Port. A 40-mile or better radius around the data center has complaints piling up. Noise is a constant roar. The beep, beep, beep of backing up trucks, the slamming of tailgates after a dump, jake-breaking roar of motors grinding and scraping, and the vibrations felt all through your house when drilling in the pylons. This time of year, it would be nice to sit outside and listen to the spring birds and peepers. Not anymore. Dust. The ensuing dust rolls covers cars, houses, sidewalks, and driveways. It enters through your HVAC system and is recirculated through your house. This is not just dirt dust. It's lime kill dust and cement fly ash stabilization powder. Super abrasive, can etch paint and turns into a paste that clings to everything. We don't know what this is doing to our lungs or our environment. Traffic. From start to the finish of a day, hundreds of dump trucks are going back and forth from the site, almost non-stop trucks with no gaps between trucks. And now we have included cement trucks and wide load steel semis. Logistically, no one seemed to consider school buses, mail delivery, garbage trucks, commuters, or emergency equipment. It can take an average of 7 minutes to go 1 mile in any direction during shift changes. Gridlock can be 25 to 40 minutes. How do you schedule around that? Residents on the outskirts of the data center are now burdened with the process, cost, and installation of baseline testing for water, air, and noise. $344 for a purple air quality monitor, $810 for water testing that now has to be done annually. We are still shopping for noise testing equipment, and I just installed a dash cam in my car. We are all paying for this personally. Most people cannot afford these expenditures. It's also troubling to note that Advantage does exceed these limits. All they have to do is pay the fines. There are no guarantees that Vantage will do anything to limit or contain that problem. No impact studies were done by DNR, as Vantage assured accurate in-house self-reporting. As it stands now, we are awaiting the addition of 5,000 workers to descend on our daily lives, and the population of our town is 1,432 residents. It has just been revealed that four high-capacity groundwater wells will be used for construction purposes with no metering, monitoring, or cap date. All water was supposed to be metered, municipal water from the city of Port Washington. One well is conveniently located under the utility storage building, which is where the water is stored for the closed-loop water storage. We live in the most densely populated subdivision, a half mile from the data center, over 30 houses. We all rely on aquifer groundwater. Construction phase is 8 to 10 years. HEC has not even picked up the route for the power source yet. It will take over a year to establish power once that route is decided. Phase 1, buildings 1 and 2 were just roofed. Startup is projected early 2027. 45 permitted generators are for backup use only. How will this be powered until HEC hooks up? The deceit is constant. This is just the start for us. 7 months in and years to go. Our future with Vantage is uncertain, and it's quite certain they do not take our best interest or concerns into consideration. Our mayor believed he was holding the steering wheel, only to discover he was just a passenger. We are all given the daunting task of becoming experts in air quality, water consumption, noise, lights, construction, infrastructure, generators, substation, and it wouldn't hurt to have a lawyer on retainer. What's changed from a nearby resident perspective? Subdued holiday decorating. We just lost the want to. Not inviting friends and family over. It's uncomfortable and it's awkward to hear repeatedly, "This is so unfortunate," and how sorry they are to see this happen to you. It's embarrassing and humiliating. Outdoor seating and gardening, you mutter and cuss under your breath as the machinery noise is a constant reminder that what used to be a joyful respite is now more anxiety. Planning holiday barbecues, open houses, and parties now works around Vantage's construction scheduling. Plan on a Sunday and hope it's not a special occurrence day. You make only necessary repairs to your homes. Renovation projects or upgrades are now delayed or outright canceled. Our house values have plummeted. Return on investment has vanished. Because every day this construction continues, the risks grow larger, the consequences spread wider, and the possibility of waking up to a condemned neighborhood becomes a little less hypothetical. It's tragic how this affects the human condition. So this was a very abbreviated listing of the physical manifestations of enduring life with a data center, but it goes deeper than this. You see, when you bring a data center into town, you suck the life out of a community as elected officials lose their power and allegiance goes to the end user. You break the community's spirit and their pride. You steal the community's reliable future. These are things that do not show up in surveys or measured by polling. These are the things that are the intricate fabric of our lives and the meshwork of a thriving community. Thank you, elected leaders of Kenosha, for balancing your views and attending this informational data center awareness seminar. You are elected to fight for local priorities. It is hoped that you give pause on your decision until a better opportunity presents itself with guardrails for your residents and confidence for your financial growth is guaranteed. Public office is public trust. Please do not shut the community out of decisions and approvals. Data centers could well be in your future. Data centers can provide benefits if done right, but they need to be built with a greater degree with more safeguards for the residents and the environment. This is not possible right now, as it's still the Wild West without regulations and accountability for health and environmental impacts. The best time to plan for a data center is before it arrives. Our data center was approved when there was not a lot of information, feedback, or facts available on data centers. Our unsophisticated mayor was easily swayed by savvy company professionals. You don't have that excuse. Every day there is one study after another targeting the effects of data centers, and the facts reveal that the community, environmental, and health costs greatly outweigh any benefits of having a data center in your community. Communities need clear goals and transparent guarantees. Data center protests are turning into a nationwide rebellion. 7 out of 10 people oppose data centers. This is gaining attention on the political forefront. Data centers could become a single issue, flashpoint vote. This is a bipartisan issue. A disturbing trend is emerging. Many politicians are casting flimsy data center policies into their campaigns, but few will stand behind a moratorium to develop sufficient regulations and oversight. Vet out your candidate's history on their stances carefully, as this could change the legislative landscape of how data centers function and operate in the near future. So in your process of researching if a data center could be a good fit, I would pose this simple question to your developers. Ask them to show you a community that has an operational data center and is happy with it. Any end user, anywhere. You must remember, you have something they want. You have the leverage here. This is not a ride or die situation. Do a background check on your developer and end user. There is age on Microsoft Build Loss now, and you can easily check their progress pedigree. You are wrangling with a multi-billion-dollar data center proposal that can affect your economy, natural resources, and way of life for generations. I see this repeatedly. The developers use demographics, age, education level, income, race as an overview of a community. Public relations are the first firms brought in on potential sites to manipulate the communities. But what they fail to see is Wisconsinites have a strong bond with nature. We do not exploit our natural resources and fiercely protect them. They totally miss the fact that there is no algorithm for a fire in the belly. These moments, these circumstances are turning many of us into the people we had no idea we could be. And that's a good thing. For the community at large, what's at stake? Your quality of life, your physical health, your house values, your mental health, your sanctity of life, your water, your energy bills, and most importantly, your future, your children's future, and their children's future. Thank you kindly for having me.
Please give it up for this wonderful panel. Amanda Mueller, Lori Hunton, Paula Pintar, Charlie Barron, and Christine Lejeune, if you would like to come back up. Before we move on to the Q&A portion here, I want to remind you all to make sure that your voice is heard. Be sure to call your alderperson for a moratorium before the development proposal next month and attend an upcoming Quam DC organizing call. Be sure to check your email for details. We also want to encourage you to attend the next City Council meeting next week, July 8th at 7 p.m., but arrive by 6:40. You do have to sign up ahead of time to speak. A sign at 6:40. If there's a lot of people, the time allotment is brought down from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. Backstage, if we can get an extra, oh yes, thank you. Now, we are going to jump right into some questions that were submitted by audience members during your presentations before opening it up to live Q&A session. Please remain seated as we will have mic runners come to you when the floor is open to the audience. Remember that we all are here to learn, so we will keep our questions, comments, and dialogue civil. Are we ready for our first question from the community? So this first question is from Matthew, and he is wondering, what do you all think about China and other big companies buying up our farmland?
I don't know that any of us are experts on China buying up our farmland, but I think it is always a good question to say who is behind whatever land that's being purchased and where have they been in other communities and what's that track record like. But there is, if you follow the money in journalism, at least they always say follow the money. If you follow the money in a lot of these data center situations, you do find a pretty clear motive. So I would just follow the money and keep asking questions, do FOIA requests. You can ask for any documents that state officials, local officials have been working on, and so ask for those documents and do your own research, and you'll be surprised where you see some things go.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. Another question from the community. We know tech companies and some politicians are pro-data center, but I've yet to see any communities making headlines about how data centers have improved their lives. Do any of you all know of any examples that you are aware of communities who have benefited from a data center being built in their area?
I think Amanda's speech kind of spoke to that entirely. So no, in my personal experience, not. Amanda, I know, has been searching, and that's kind of that's a question that she's posed to all of us. Have we found one? Because we haven't yet.
Yeah. Holland?
I got that mic. Recently, I looked at the Virginia's data center because they're the main data center alley for our United States. And I looked at their community plan and their community health plan, and their statistics have decreased in the feelings of the population, how they feel their community's health is, and their quality of life. So they're starting to get more research and more vocal about data centers in that area, and they're the kind of the hot spot of our country. So it's emerging in the research.
Thank you.
And another thing I want to mention is people are asking, why are they coming into Wisconsin? Why now? Up until January, I was working in Kansas with a consulting firm, and there were a lot of data centers being proposed there. And the communities that were considering the data centers were requiring that the developers put in either a full brand new wastewater treatment plant or ensure the community that they were going to take care of the infrastructure and the roads afterwards. So tremendous requirements that they were putting into the agreements. Here in Wisconsin, maybe because we're Midwest friendly, I'm not seeing any communities requesting that kind of thing. And so they're seeing that, and I think that they're coming in because they think that we're going to be an easy sell, and we're not going to require any of these expensive add-ons. So that's something that I've observed just from Kansas and the different areas, where data centers have been proposed before.
Thank you, panelists. Someone in our community is asking, when do we need to vote on the moratorium by?
Again, I'm not an expert on this, but I I do believe, from what I'm being told, that the language on the moratorium is currently being worked on, and to scan the QR code, get your email on there, and as soon as that's ready legally, they'll get it out to you guys, and you can sign that. So again, not an expert, but if you do scan the QR code, I do know these guys will take care of you.
So yeah, I do want to clarify. So this is something that would be voted on by our aldermen here in the city, and they would bring forth this resolution as a moratorium. Again, that temporary pause to give us more time to do research, and like our panelists have said, put into place proper restrictions, proper research, and it sounds like this proposal is being done next month. So I would say that we need to do this today, tomorrow. Some of our elected officials are here. If I may be bold enough to say, if you would like to stand up, please, to our aldermen or our supervisors. Don't let me call you up. Thank you. Thank you, aldermen. Thank you very much. And again, you can find your alderman in the City of Kenosha website.
We're gonna open it up to some live questions after this one. I just didn't really have time to write this one good, so I'm just gonna ask it. But thank you for all of you who submitted. This one's a combo of 2 anonymous submitters. Are there any lawyers suing data centers in Wisconsin? How do we ensure accountability on unfulfilled promises in general? We all saw what happened with Foxconn, and to my knowledge, there were no consequences.
One thing I think we can bring up on this is how do you ensure that they follow even the guidelines that they set. I know in Port Washington they said 14-hour work weeks. Well, as soon as the ink was dry, they moved that to 24/7, 7 days a week. And somebody saying right here is Kim, and Kim has experienced a lot of what the realities of that are like Amanda. So Kim, can you speak on that? Sorry to throw you right under the bus, but there you are.
Give a hand to Kim, please.
I'm not really comfortable with this, so forgive me. I live in Amanda's neighborhood. I've been there a little longer than her, almost 25 years. Raised my kids there, and one of the reasons that we moved there was it was the town of Port Washington, and we had pastoral farms surrounding us. We had the opportunity to just walk, both on the beach and on the country roads. I'm from New Jersey. I never experienced that as a child. I didn't see the constellations. I didn't see the kind of wildlife and birds and that kind of stuff. So to me, it was an idyllic life to raise my children in. My next door neighbor essentially sold thousands of acres of farmland for this data center and changed everything for us. We can no longer walk on our country roads because they've either closed them, ruined them, or are driving like absolute maniacs on them in huge dump trucks, semis, concrete trucks. Even the workers in their F-150s and that sort of stuff. They don't stop at stop signs. They don't swerve for people coming in the opposite direction or walking. It has become everything that you would not want your family to live in. It is, as I said to our mayor before this even began, when I looked at Beaver Dam and what they were going through, they turn your area into a hellscape. There is dust, there is noise, there is just no signs of life. Wildlife are being killed, birds are gone. We don't have the morning chorus anymore by us. There's been nothing good about this. And to be honest with you, I'm pretty sure that I've got PTSD from the beep, 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 24/7. of backing up trucks. It's something that you think that possibly would kind of meld into the landscape. And I said that to one of my kids at one point, these things can't help. These workers must get used to it. Oh, I was so wrong. I've never experienced anything like it, and I hope to God that none of you have to live through what we did. So thank you for your time.
Kim, thank you very much for sharing and for being here with us. We will now be opening it up to live Q&A questions. Again, please stay in your seats. We will have a mic runner come up to you. Our lovely mic runners, Sage and Kim, will come to you. We are eager to answer as many questions as possible, so we ask that you do your best to keep it concise. Please be mindful to maintain civil discourse, and we encourage you to deliver your question in a minute or less so we can hear from as many of you as possible. Would anyone like to start us off?
Hi, my name is Morgan Coghill, and I'm on the board of the Lake County, Illinois Data Center Opposition Coalition. I'm not currently in a fight against the T5 data center in Grays Lake, Illinois. It's going to be 472 acres. And thanks to our pressure, we have actually gotten Lake County board to put a moratorium on data centers in unincorporated parts of Lake County. So public pressure works. I just wanted to let you all know. And I do actually have a question. On our data center that they're trying to put in Grays Lake, they're talking about a closed loop system, which thank you very much for addressing. However, they're saying that there's going to be no glycols in it whatsoever. They're going to be using heating coils to make sure that it doesn't freeze over in the winter. Is this fantasy, or is this actually based in any sort of reality? Thank you.
So I don't have a lot of experience. I mean, I have some experience with heating coils, but not in that use. I would tend to believe that there's other issues that are going to be associated with those heating coils. I can look into it certainly and get back with you. So come up to me afterwards, or hopefully you've got my information off the screen. But I'm having a hard time believing that heating coils are going to be able to work up here in our very frigid winters. I know that I've worked on facilities where just trying to keep a tank, stable with some heating coils was difficult. So that to me sounds a little bit fabricated, but I'd have to look at the engineering plans.
I think you need to also look at the energy production. So that's going to utilize more, draw on the energy. So these data centers, there's energy that's produced just to support the data center and all the ongoing mechanisms within it. So I think that's another element to bring up in your discussions.
And one last thing, I think you just asked them what other data center has used this successfully in that climate. And if they can't point to one, then really that's just sort of a marketing thing to say to get people off their ass. But then they'll just end up saying, well, this didn't work, so we're just using the glycol anyway. That could be a little bit skeptical, but I would definitely ask it's good to be skeptical now until the deal is done. Because once the deal is done, they'll do whatever they want.
Thank you, Lori, Paula, and Charlie. Any other questions in the public?
Yes,
Oh, yes, up front.
hello.
Where are we? Oh, I see, in the middle. Yes, thank you.
I'm a resident of Summers and in Kenosha County. I've lived here all my life. I do want to state one thing, is I find this kind of ridiculous that we are even thinking of letting our water source get contaminated. Water is life. It is life, and it needs to be honored. It keeps us alive. It keeps our nature alive. We just can't blink an eye at this. This is really serious. And my question also is that why, I'm only hearing about the city of Kenosha. Is the county
involved at all with the county executive? And I don't know, I just would like to know, because that's where I would have to take my voice. So, does anybody know?
Thank you for your question. If not,
Are there any county reps here that can talk to that?
Only if you're comfortable.
Well, they're talking about building this thing in Paris, right? So that's county.
yes.
And if public pressure works, it works at the county level as well as the city level.
I do want to note that we do have a couple supervisors here for the county, but as for further that, Lori?
One thing I'll mention, as someone out there just said, it's really important, I think, to definitely talk to your county as well, because I'm from Beloit, and we have some data centers proposed there, and it seems like when one gets kind of squashed, they kind of move over, and they're just kind of looking at different townships. So it's really important to talk to your county, because if they can do something from a county level, they might be able to do it, or that it might be required that it's at township level. It really depends on your governance and your ordinances and how they've been decided. But I would make sure that you let them know how you feel as well, because this isn't the last one you're going to see in Kenosha County, I can almost promise you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just watched Jurassic Park last night, if you can't remember. And the raptors in Jurassic Park, you guys, they test the fences. And they remember where the weak spots are. So the developers are kind of like the raptors. They're just testing the fences, looking for the weakest spot. So I love to bring a good Jurassic Park analogy wherever I can, and you're welcome.
Just to pass the mic to Christine.
Sorry? Oh, Christine.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that as well, because we have seen up by us and a little bit further north, we have seen additional attempts with data center build-outs. Manitowoc County, which is now enforced a moratorium, they had some challenges with data centers potentially coming to Chicot and Two Rivers, and then we also had up around the Green Bay area, between Appleton and Green Bay, we had Greenleaf, and then we also had a Wrightstown. So they just basically went from one town to the other, next door, and exactly that. They sniff around in the same spot, kind of testing out the area and kind of respond. So I would really keep your eyes open as well. That's a really good point.
And just to add to that, what it really needs is just you guys out there, if you're feeling motivated to do something about this, it takes really good community organization. So if you feel like you want to help lead the organization effort on this, again, scan that QR code, shoot an email, just whatever skills you have. The data centers love to say we're building a warehouse of geniuses, but if you look around, we got that right here. Everyone's got genius inside them and can contribute.
Thank you. I believe we have a question in the middle.
Oh, you want to? Sorry. Hi, my name is Angie. I live here in Kenosha, and my question relates to something that was said about how you thought you found your dream place to live, and then before you knew it, one of your neighbors sold all of that farmland, and they started building a data center on it. And I look around all the time, like especially over by Mars Cheese Castle, and there's a bunch of land for sale, and it's all over the place. So I was thinking, we see people, pull a bunch of money together on GoFundMe's all the time. Why can't we as a community do something like that? Because if there's not a bunch of land for sale, doesn't that at least help start somewhere? They need property up for sale to buy, right?
It's a really good point, and that's also why it's really important to be, talking to your neighbors, to spread the word. If you hear, the way that Mishicot got going and Two Rivers up in Manitowoc, they actually, it was a woman and other neighbors who she through her family found out about it, and they spread the word and they organized, and then they got going and they managed to stop this. So it does really boil down to community effort at the very, very local level. You guys, communicating, knowing your neighbors, knowing what's going on, caring, and speaking to each other, and discussing what's going on. There's also something I haven't delved too deeply into, but there's also a way to purchase developers' rights as well. I don't know what that would entail in, if it's specific to various counties, but there's also a way where you as a community can purchase the rights of developers. So you hold those rights. I don't know how that would apply specifically to your case, but that's just something that I have also read about. So that might be something to look into. But yeah, I agree. Keep talking to your neighbors and find out that information. And if there's a desire and a will and a way to organize, by all means, that it would be the most absolute sound way to organize together if you do that.
Thank you, Christine.
Also, I'm from Caledonia, and we learned about the proposed, for our village, they wanted to rezone agricultural land to high industrial. So I think getting tapped into your planning board and knowing when those proposals are coming forward and making sure you keep up on that, that was how, they only notified people within 300 feet of the property line, and my son happened to be one of those individuals, and so that's how we found out about it and started our grassroots effort to kind of coalesce the community in the village, and that's how I believe we stopped our data center happening in Caledonia. So it's the voice of the people.
It was a couple weeks ago, we had a talk up in Beloit. Thanks, Charlie, again for being there. We had a people's public forum, town hall. And we had some friends from Cedar Rapids that came up. So all of our groups are starting to coalesce and help each other. And they mentioned that the land in their area, the companies came in and offered for a property that would probably be $10,000 to $15,000 an acre. We're offering $125,000 an acre for this land. My husband's a farmer in Beloit, and a crop farmer, and they came to him for the LNG center, which is probably associated with the data center. And they told him, name a price doesn't matter. And he's like, we're not selling, this is ag land. But there's some people, the key would be to find out, great idea, when property is available, maybe get in with those owners and try to do something beforehand. And most importantly, get on those zoning committees. Get involved in your county planning department. Get your people into those official positions where you can have, people who are going to listen to the public and do the right thing for your area. So get involved.
Panelists. We do have time for one more question. I do believe I see someone in the middle there.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you, Zane.
There it is. Wow. Okay, sorry. Yes, this gentleman here, if you want to say your name, Ken, up to you.
My name is Dennis, I live in Kenosha, and I'm just kind of curious now that Mount Pleasant has sold its soul out to data centers. The first one's online, the second one is in construction. They have plans for 15 total that are in plan. Now, I'm wondering about the environmental impact, if the DNR is going to be doing anything post-construction once these things get rolling, not just here, but across the country. If there have been any DNRs across the country that have done anything about the economic impact or the environmental impact of these data centers across the country. Does anybody know if there's been anything done?
So, unfortunately, they're being fast-tracked so much that with a lot of these sites, you can demonstrate you've got wetlands, you've got endangered species, you've got migratory birds, you have susceptibility to groundwater contamination, and it seems like it just doesn't matter. They're being fast-tracked. So DNR is putting a approved stamp on these high-cap well permits, and they're approving air quality permits. I don't have an answer for that, but what we are doing is we're trying to fight back with doing your own little research on what's endangered in that area. You can go on to the EPA. They have great sites where you can look yourself. You don't have to be a biologist or a geologist to look it up, but you can see what's endangered and start talking to people about it and saying, hey, listen, the rusty patch bumblebee, it's down to 10% or less of what it used to be. Things like that you want to talk to people about. This is habitat. We can't just mitigate it somewhere else. So the DNR doesn't have the strength, and I don't know if it's the people internally that just have been told, allow it to be fast-tracked. If there's any federal funding available to these projects, then they're supposed to go through a Section 7 review. And again, they're trying to fast track those, but call your Fish and Wildlife Service offices, call your Army Corps of Engineers, and ask about the water issues. Start reaching out to those other agencies that have a say in it. Reach out to DNR and ask to talk to the project manager. I mean, they need to know these things aren't okay. We can't stand by and just watch this happen.
They will go after the violations, but what these companies do is turn around and claim bankruptcy, dump it onto you, the homeowners.
Let's go.
This is a closed loop area. Anybody that lives close to that data center, I can tell you right now, I've heard the construction, I've heard the constant noise. I got friends with houses there. It will affect your property. The DNR ignores those bankruptcies, and then the developer never actually has to fix those problems. They are in so deep from the real estate agents, brokers, the developers. They've got people in political positions in the county who are on the committees for these permits, making backdoor deals without you knowing. All the way to the mayor, all the way to the judges, all the way up to the state. So you cannot have your head in the sand. We will lose our property values, and in the meantime, they're raising your assessments constantly. Those properties are ruined. They'll never be able to sell at the value that they're supposed to be able to sell. They are robbing and buying up this land with the intent of they're going to do whatever it is that they want to do. And these officials, these people that we represent, have been making these backdoor deals. It's called a closed loop for a reason. The lawyers, they're all in on it. You can't even FOIA request because it's under private equity sometimes, and they legally do not have to say anything. And I'm going to give you an example. There's a builder who's building in this area for homes who has violated the DNR, and they don't have to fix it. They just claimed bankruptcy, and a few years down the road, open up again, because that's what the state of Wisconsin is doing. They've been buying it up while we're bickering and arguing over the topics that don't matter.
That is absolutely
That's what's
horrendous.
dividing us.
We're fans of the community. Let's go.
So you guys, that is one. Yes. And that is one reason why also everyone who's concerned, get involved in your local communities and local elections and run for alderperson, right? Become active at the local level. That is where it all starts, and that's where you can make an impact most immediately, and that is so important. Look at Prescott this evening, right? Look how far he's come, and he was voted in easily, and has moved on and is now the interim president, village president. So look at that. I mean, that is really something, and that's why we need to become involved and engaged and hold all of our elected officials accountable, but also those who are pressuring them as well. And it's going back to the DNR topic as well. I just wanted to say with Fort Washington is a similar situation where the first thing we asked was, where's the environmental access? Where is it? This is a massive development of, when it's finished, almost 1,910 acres, almost 2,000 acres. It's so close to Lake Michigan. There is geological, differences in the soil. What about that? What's going to happen there? What is below that? How is that being affected? Aquifers, wells. And so this was something that we expected and didn't happen. And when it did, it came too late and it was too superficial by the DNR. And so that is something that, yes, I think they are, they've passed our air permits and so forth. So that is something that while we remain engaged, we have become, realized is not something we can count on. So of course, keep pressuring, keep staying engaged, but also get involved in your local communities in whatever way and form you can.
Thank you, Christine. On that note, we are out of time. In closing, I want to extend my thanks again to Lori, Amanda, Paula, Prescott, Kim and Charlie for being here. We really appreciate you traveling here and sharing your team's insights to help our community. We would also like to extend our thank yous to Hands Off Kenosha, who provided refreshments for tonight's event. A huge thank you to Meredith Zimmerman, the hugest, who could not be here tonight, but was instrumental in helping us set up this event and coordinate with Charlie. To the roadie and the Lakeside players who continue to provide a platform to the Kenoshans artistically and otherwise. To the public officials who came out to learn more and to hear the community's concerns, your dedication does not go unnoticed. Last but not least, to each and every one of you who came out tonight, we encourage you to continue to learn and spread the information you've heard here tonight. I have been your gracious host, Dionysia. This is a time for action to be sure that your voice is heard. Have a wonderful night.
Make sure you guys scan that. If you want to help, scan that and send an email. And yeah, we'll take the momentum from here. Thank you all very much.